Hey guys, Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's it going today? I'm kind of looking at a little summary slash fall because that's how I feel. I had a few words to say about a subject near and dear to my heart. It's called trust. Now, trust is an important thing because once it's lost, it can hardly ever be fully regained again. And that's why it's one of life's most precious commodities. What are life's most precious commodities? I'm glad you asked. Life's most precious commodities are as follows: family, friends, trust, love, and life, and liberty. Those are mine, anyway. Those are my values. Now, as you know, guys, I'm not religious. I was at one point, as were we all, when I was indoctrinated into the Judeo-Christian principles. And I don't find anything wrong with those at all. I do find, however, that hardly anybody ever listens to Jesus Christ. So I think that's hilarious and ironic. It's not the fact that I find wrong with these Judeo-Christian principles, is the fact that they don't factor into account the politics, the values, and the social organization of the era, of the time. They become literally just an object that you can use to justify or to not justify anything you want, which has been proven with examples throughout history. One in mind, slavery. There was the abolitionists were talking about using the Bible to disprove slavery. The slaverists were using the Bible to prove slavery. Same passages were being used to prove and disprove slavery. Why? Because you don't take into account the factors of the society at the time, the values at the time, and other factors that go in to the writings. Also, the Holy Inspired Word of God, I could debate that, because Constantine used it to unite Rome into one empire as he was losing control. So it was all politically, orchestrated, the Bible, and then the context itself was stripped out of it because, it had to be used in a political context. So once you use the Bible in something else besides a context of higher enlightenment, then the rest of it is tainted with, no context. Just because they're absolutists. And they can't be absolutists because they're stripped of context, any means from the factors of society. Anyway, so this is not about the Judeo-Christian principles, though. I just want to talk about how I have values, okay? And I think every single human being in this earth has values, right? It just depends on what they are, right? That's why we can agree to disagree on certain things. And that's why some things need laws, right? So that's all fine, okay? The trouble comes when the clear and unwavering moral values of our society, but mankind, when those start to erode and deteriorate from relationships, say trust or love, then that relationship is a lost cause, right? Now, why am I making these comments? Me and my friend James Stevens, I don't think I'd call him my friend now, because literally those values eroded. But we had a disagreement about the masks, right? Do I think the masks are for our safety? No, I don't. Do I think they're a sign of fear? Yes, I do. Are those my opinions? Yes, they are. Do I make any laws? Do I have any influence? No, not really. You all know my arguments. Basically, I don't want to give the government any more power than it has because it will never give it back. And also, our political parties use all kinds of manner of crisis, because they're not like normal people, okay? They're not like you and me. Just want to worry about the ones we love. Political parties are not like you and me. These people that are in power, they're not normal people. While we worry about like what we're going to save up for, while we worry about the ones we love, while we worry about, you know, making appointments to go see graduations and piano recitals and all that, these people have only one goal, and that is to stay in power through any means necessary, through fear-mongering, through gaslighting, through polarizing the country, just pretty much anything they can do to stay in power, they will do, okay? And so once you factor that in with unconstitutional mandates and symbols of fear, and I start to get worried. So this is all fine, right? We could agree to disagree on this, because, I mean, am I wearing my mask? Yes, I'm wearing my mask, right? I live in a society with you. I learned long ago that I have to abide by society's rules, whether I agree or not. I'm not a child. I still wear a mask, even though I disagree, you know, because that is what we're doing. I don't really know how this argument became unhinged, but somehow I was talking about how, you know, people are isolated at home, and people are committing suicide. Mental illness is a great big deal. And mostly I wasn't talking about me being suicidal, but I was talking about like my perspective. I was very depressed, you know, as a musician and as an extrovert, like not having other people around, it kind of just like drains me, because I feel like life is a collaborative process. I kind of like to commune with other people, and I'd like to bounce things off of them. When you're stuck at home and you're focusing on the fact that you're stuck at home, you know, you start to get depressed and stuff. So I was talking about me, and you know, people that take that depression a step further and commit suicide. I wouldn't commit suicide, because I mean, if I'm not dead yet because of all the stupid decisions that I've made, there must be some like higher divine reason for that. Why would I off myself? I should have been dead a long time ago. I'm blessed. So as depressed as I am, I'm still blessed. So I guess my comments struck James in he didn't think I was being honest with my argument, okay? Because I have a multifaceted argument about this. There's lots of different factors that go into all of these little key element changes of the pandemic. And all of them are slippery slopes, in my opinion, okay? So I would like to bring those things to the forefront, and I like to address them, okay? So he didn't like the fact that I was talking about suicides and I was putting them on the same scale as people dying from coronavirus. So he decided that he was going to expose another facet of my ideology. I believe that freedom is valuable no matter the cost. That is another one of my values, okay? Why is this a value for me? World War I, millions of people died. World War II, millions of people died. Why did they die? To free us from the Nazi fascism. Also, I just want to mention that my great-great-great-grandfather, Robert Salisbury, came to this country as a volunteer immigrant to involuntary from tyranny. That's why. So those people in the military that died defending our freedom, they died defending freedom. I think freedom is worth every single cost. I think freedom is worth the cost. James's whole thing is try to pigeonhole you into closed-ended questions, which he already knows how you're going to answer. That's the only way he can win. It's like chess. So he asked me, he was like, so I guess you're just okay with 1 to 2 million people dying because of your opinions, right? Because I have no money and no power, because I'm sarcastic. What I said was, yes, freedom is worth the cost. Although, I mean, could I ever enact that? No, not really. And do I really have an interest to? Not really. But is freedom worth the cost? Is that my value? Yes, it is. So he tries to give me this little closed-ended, pigeonholed question, and I just sarcastically and non-sarcastically say, yes, 1 to 2 million people is worth freedom. Freedom is worth every cost. Okay. So then he thinks he's exposed me, right? Because he's a friend. He's a good friend. So what all friends do is they keep those little Facebook Messenger things for blackmail for later on. Anytime they disagree with you for anything else. So that was dishonest. Okay. You think I'm being dishonest with the suicides? Exposing me by telling people another facet of my ideology out of context is also dishonest. And I wasn't being dishonest either. I just have a lot of, I'm a very complicated person. I'm complex. I'm not right or left. I'm forward. So I guess me probably even knowing, because I know James, I know that he has to be right. He has to. And I let it go most of the time because he's a very smart guy. So most of the time he is right. Sometimes he's not. And sometimes we just have opinions, and that's all we have. So this time it was personal because you exposed me. Basically, it's a control issue, and I'm not going to be controlled, especially not by white people who think they can control me, especially since I just talked about freedom. Okay. So anyway, this whole thing just kind of just like match. And all the things I said to James about him being ugly on the inside and stuff, I really meant. I'm not going to lie about that. Should I have controlled my temper? Should I have ignored the situation? Should I have walked away from conflict? Yes, I should. That's a flaw that I have. It's a flaw that I need to really fix. Because someday I'm going to be in a position of power, and I'm going to need to be able to have a cool head. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. So what that taught me about myself is that I still have a very deep flaw of letting emotions get to me to the point where I'm not in control. Okay, and even though I said the things and I meant them, I did. Because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be dishonest with myself constantly because I do have a substance abuse issue. Okay, this doesn't really. I feel like this doesn't hinder me from things. People are like, oh well, you can't have a career in politics. You can't do this. You can't do that. I honestly am blessed that under a court of law, I had to admit at first that I was a drug addict because, that was part of my probation. I had to go to meetings and stuff like that. But in the meetings, I found really, really useful information about life. Okay, like the steps. Step 1: admitting you have a problem. You can't fix anything without admitting you have a problem. There I was, court ordered, not wanting to quit drugs at the time. But through the steps and through the fellowship and through making gratitude lists, I was a much happier person, and I was more productive, and I was less depressed. So that improved my life a lot. And I didn't have to do drugs to cope with society anymore. I just had to use other coping mechanisms. One of my coping mechanisms is calling out fuckery. But see, I can do that. I just can't fly off the handle emotionally. Because that's exactly like, using drugs. Same levels of serotonin, in your brain. Do a rational conversation. So that was my fault. I don't really know how James thinks he's right about not only, betraying trust, even though I really didn't have much trust in him. And, he has to be right. So that drives him, not anything else. I gave him a opportunity to be a friend, and he betrayed my trust. And then, while I'm trying to make a point about yet another important aspect of society, all of these other factors that are included, even though we don't like them. Like, I don't like eating certain foods. I don't like drinking turmeric in my tea, honestly. Is it helpful with the heart and stuff like that? I factor all that in, and so it helps my decision making, right? It helps me become objective, that I have all the facts, so I can make I can make a good judgment, right? So I'm trying to explain that to this friend, and then here comes James stabbing me in the back from behind, like the DNC, raging up this old argument that he's already betrayed my trust over. and mischaracterize my whole entire argument. Because that's another thing James has to do to win an argument. Not only does he have to pigeonhole me into close-ended questions, but he also has to frame the argument as well, right? It's all about control with him. So that's pretty much just what made me mad, is that you can't control my narrative, okay? I told you guys, I'm not about conventional wisdom, okay? You can't frame my narrative. You can't frame that shit, okay? I frame it. I frame my narrative. You don't, okay? So if I'm talking about a point and you frame it as another point, I'm going to say, no, actually, I was talking about this point, okay? Finally just got out of hand. It did. Well, let's just put it this way. I really am saddened that I had to engage in a less than brotherly spat with a Bernie bro, you know? Because we've been through a lot already, you know, with the DNC and Podesta emails, the Pied Piper strategy, and the coalescing, and the just the underhanded Democratic establishment tactics. And, you know, that kind of just gives you kind of like a common bond, and that bond was broken. Because it turns out, even though you're a Bernie bro, you can still be a douchebag. And I would really like to know if James has a girlfriend. I would like to talk to his girlfriend, because I guarantee you, if I just tasted this little bit of control freakiness shit of framing my narrative, pushing me to close-ended questions, and forcing me to go off the handle, not forcing me, it was my decision. I'm in charge of my own actions. I'm in charge. But you know what I mean. I would like to talk to her, see what shit she went down with. I don't think he has a girlfriend, because no girl would ever deal with bullshit like James just fucking spewed last night. And you know what's funny? While we were spewing the bullshit, I said my bullshit, and then I smoked some pot, right? James said the bullshit. Then he reported me to Facebook to try to get me banned from Facebook. So this is just how insidious he is. This is just really interesting. Like, if he was the only white person that I knew, like, just like the Native Americans trusted, you know, the United States government, like, James is like the United States government, like, they never trust this guy, dude. He's only listening to destroy you later on. That's that guy. So I learned that about him. Good guy to have on the team. Put him on a leash. And shut the fuck up, James. Nobody asked your opinion.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
I see potential, me and you. Pushing myself.